Good day, everybody! How's it going out there? It's been a long time since I made one of these videos. There were some majors that's happened, and we had that has been posted on Flare, the results of that. Pretty good results this year, even though there was a bit of a tumultuous thing, which we covered on a previous thing. But let's get to the long and the short here. So, while I was, bumming about for this month, been working really hard, been kind of suffering a little bit of burnout, as it were, long and the short. But a news story came out of Utah, which did sort of pique my interest. A lot of people first were initially brought onto this news story through social media, and it's interesting how the influence of social media can have on the narrative of a story these days. Interestingly, back when I was a youngin, right? The news media would usually be the first people that would tell you about the story, whether it was accurate or not, or whether it had strengths or weaknesses, or whether or not it was like the full-on thing. People could make that argument and whatnot, but usually it would require time in order to for the ink to dry on the page, as it were. These days, obviously, the first time you hear about things is almost rightly immediately on social media, and unfortunately, social media has this thing where anybody can publish at any time for any reason. And so, because of that, you have this issue of information that is partially true or maybe adjusted a little bit for individuals' agendas, and you find that very much for people who definitely for people who speak for political or socio-political ideologies. That being said, what does this have to do with Utah? Well, there was a protest in a school in Utah, and a lot of people on social media were initially saying that it was because some furries were behaving badly, but when you read into it, it's a little more nuanced than that. So here's the Flare article that I wrote about this. It was released on the 21st, and it goes over different articles and their idea and their perspectives on it, and also goes over the thing. Now, the picture here was that Green Reaper my editor-in-chief chose to use, is actually from Anthrocon 2007. That's not the students protesting. He said he didn't feel comfortable using the students' images for the protest, and that's fine. All the other major news places have used that anyway. So basically, the idea, the long and the short is that a school in Payson, Utah, had a kerfluffle, as it were, as students who were wearing ears on an animal band, so animal ears. They weren't wearing full-on fursuits. They were wearing a band with animal ears on it, and apparently they had food tossed at them. Now, I assume that this was in the cafeteria, because where else would students have access to food to throw at other students? But the news things didn't really lay that out, but they did indicate all the major news sites that I looked at indicated that the students who were wearing animal ears had an act of aggression taken out on them by other students throwing food at them, or probably some joke about feeding the animals or something, knowing how kids tend to think. So basically, what ended up happening is the students who were wearing the ears, they were told, hey, it is sort of disruptive, you're wearing these ears, and it caused some disruptive behavior, so we ask you not to wear them in the future. And the students who were wearing the ears agreed to that. But the board, the school board, the school education system, I believe, of Utah, they said that they wrote a letter out to the parents and sent it out. And it discussed the two things. It discussed the dress code and reinforcing the dress code, but it also said and also put in language about the fact that you shouldn't be throwing food at other students just because they're dressed a little differently than you are. And so I believe, I don't have an exact copy of the letter, and unfortunately, like, that's probably going to be lost to time unless somebody from that particular school is watching or district is watching and wants to provide a copy of that particular letter. But my assumption is, based on the articles that I read, is that it had language about being, not wearing different clothes and being more formal at the school, but at the same time, showing decency and respect and tolerating other people without throwing food at them, right? Just because they're wearing something a little bit different. And I think that was the part that a lot of people in the perpetually online, socially vigilante, as it were, basically came in and tried to to play it up as if the school was defending these alleged furries. Now, the reason I say alleged furries is that all we know about these individuals that had the food thrown at them was that they were wearing a headband with animal ears on it. And as somebody said, some anime fans understand the idea of a Nico, which is basically just a human character with animal ears on it. If you don't know an example of that, it's that one guy that got ran off the internet singing about pretty girls, itty bitty girls, and et cetera, et cetera. Like, that's an example of a Nico character where you have a very human character with just simply animal ears on them. But obviously, a lot of people were saying, well, these are furries, and I can't prove or disprove one way or the other whether or not these characters in the school were furries, but we're going to move forward with the assumption that they were. Even if they were, don't throw food at them. And that's the whole thing. It's like, if it's like, oh, but they're violating the dress code, they should be able to throw food at them. It's like, that's not, no. If somebody's violating the rules, you just tell the teacher and say that you have a problem with it. But I must say, I did see a video of someone wearing Rick and Morty shirts in the school, so their dress code seems pretty lax as it is. We'll get into that a little bit later. But so that's the full-on article here. If you want to read it, there's going to be a link in the description below. But I also wanted to talk a little bit about how the interesting thing about the mainstream media and how it sort of covered this. And there are three main articles. One's a little too hard, one's a little too soft, one's a little just right. Now, and other things. But interestingly, like this one from KSL, its headline is very misleading and almost to the point where I'm actually going to kind of give it a little bit of shade. It's like, no evidence of furries in Nebo School District, despite allegations, social media firestorm. So this article mainly talks about, now it doesn't talk about the fact that the furries don't exist if you read through it. It just says the same thing that most of the other ones do, that the biting and the scratching, which was an alleged rumor that came out. So that was a big thing that happened as a result of this. And I think that's something I failed to kind of highlight here, is that while the mainstream media was talking about, this situation in the cafeteria allegedly where, these kids with animal bands had food thrown at them, and that this letter went out, and then, like, this protest as a result of that letter, the interesting part is that the social media went crazy with, like, furries bit some kids, or barked at them, or pounced them, and, random verbiage that, like, and that's the thing that I think KSL was trying to indicate here, that didn't happen. It wasn't that there's no evidence that furries don't exist in the school. It's more of no evidence of the thing that social media was upset or angry about. And interestingly enough, the New York Post, which by the way, the New York Post is very, very infamous as a news organization for sensationalizing headlines and sensationalizing things. And they obviously say, well, the district says it's a rumor crafted by the internet about the biting and the barking. But the interesting thing about the language in this article is actually goes a lot harder against the group than I initially thought it would. And this is actually part of the rumors of biting are toothless section here. I quote their article for about 3 lines here. And it basically goes after the etymology of where these biting and barking things came from, and that was from an infamous Twitter/X user called Libs of TikTok, who is known for sensationalizing, and the runner of that particular social media site has become very infamous, and it's very well known that that she, because it's her who runs the site, has committed acts of what has been called stoic terrorism, which is basically getting people's fears and dander up so much that, basically individuals will take action upon her behest and basically threaten or actually take action or call in threats to organizations or people that she basically points her ire at, right? She uses her power and her platform in order to stoke the fears and the fires and points them off in a certain direction, and then nothing bad happens or whatever. So that's what stoic terrorism is considered. It's an interesting phrase that I've never heard until Libs of TikTok, but it's a very interesting thought on that. Now, the interesting thing is that the New York Post is basically indicating that Libs of TikTok blasted the false message, and that was their words. They said it was the New York. See, here's the thing: when the New York Post is telling you, "Yo, calm down a little bit with the rhetoric," it's bad. You've gone a little too far over the cuckoo's nest. You've got a little bit too far. You've gone a little bit too crazy. If the New York Post is going, whoa, hold on a second. Hold on. It's crazy to me, right? It's like, whoever thought the New York Post would be trying to go, whoa, furry rumors? This is all a bunch of nonsense. Oh my gosh, that's funny. So the other thing and the third thing that I talk about was, but here's the thing about these rumors and these things like this. And we're going to go into the only kind of positive response I saw on social media, or at least the one I think that was asking the right questions or pointing out the right things, is this user called Punk Bunny. And she talks, I think it's a she. Let me check real quick. There's her thing. Non-binary, they, he, she. Okay. Any pronouns. Okay. Well, it's at least Twitter had that up on the right side there. That was useful. So they, Punk Bunny here basically goes over how the narrative can get skewed, and how individuals who have platforms will try to use their platform to skew a narrative in a means. They'll use the truth, but they'll skew it in such a way where it basically throws meat to their audience. And this is the end of Wokeness. They sort of put up this sort of picture here, not a subtweet, but a picture of the end Wokeness tweet, which was the thing that kind of brought it to the attention of most people on social media. Which, and Wokeness goes, "What a time to be alive. Yesterday, over 70 students walked out of Mount Nebo School to protest the school for letting furries be to bite, bark, and lick them," which is the rumor that, most of the mainstream press was that didn't happen whatsoever. And then ABC even interviewed a member of the furry community to give a comment about the situation. Now, here's the thing. The person who gave a comment on the situation, their name is Strudles. And I've never heard of Strudles, and this fandom is so big, it's I don't know people by name. This first time I've seen Strudels at all, whether it's public facing or not. But unfortunately, Strudels' speech basically sort of leaned into the rumors. And I think that's a reason that Wokeness wanted to highlight Strudels' interview with ABC4, is because, while a reasonable response, right, at the time, Strudels' statement was basically like, well, if these kids were being disruptive to that their peers is, it makes the furries look bad, right? Now, they didn't even say if, they kind of like alluded to the fact that the rumors about the biting and the barking and stuff like that were true. And that's an unfortunate thing, is because a lot of the ways we're introduced to these kind of things is assuming that these rumors are true, and then basically by the time we do our best to patent down the rumors to kind of put out the fires, but at the end of the day, the house is already burnt down. The people who are pressing this narrative about these alleged furries who allegedly bit somebody or allegedly barked at somebody and allegedly were being covered up by the school, which is just the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Like, if a kid bit another kid, that kid would get suspended or detention or expelled. Like, I don't care if they're a furry or not furry, and I don't think schools are that far off the frickin' wagon that would ever happen. It seems nonsensical, right? And so what is more likely to be true? It's like literally Occam's razor at this point. That, some kids were wearing animal ears, and because social media has said furries are the rodeo clowns of our political landscape, and it's okay to be rough and bully them and do stuff like that. So these kids threw food at these furries and made some joke about feeding the animals or something, which is not part of the narrative, but I suspect would be kind of a, it seems reasonable. It seems reasonable that kids would behave like that, even if it's not reasonable to behave like that. So basically, you have that narrative, and then the school sending out a letter of concern to the parents about the behavior of the kids and saying, like, please dress appropriately, A, and B, like, don't throw food at each other. And it's like, how dare you tell us not to throw food at each other? We're going to protest your school, and stuff like that. And it's just like, it just seems like obviously you'd have one way or the other, and I think that obviously the mainstream narrative kind of wins out over the social media narrative in my mind. And this is sort of what Punk Bunny goes on to elaborate here. They basically say, it's like, I want to talk about misinformation and how bad actors intentionally distort the truth and make up events to spark outrage against fringe and minority groups. Let's take this recent example. To state the obviously, this is not true. And they talking about the biting and the scratching thing. And then they go on to describe, it's like, this post takes an entire news story out of context intentionally, parading a partial quote from a fursuiter as an admission of guilt to charges of a school basically letting furries bark, bite, and lick them. That's not what happened. Let's read the actual story. And here they go over another news story. I think it's even the Change.org and is it ABC? That might be the ABC4 article that I had earlier. So here's the actual news story. Students and parents participated in a walkout over dress code. And then so it's like, so a petition wants to clamp down on furries for violating dress code and sparks a walkout. But why the furry panic? And here's what the students have to say. Bad stuff, right? So basically, the students are declaring that that the furries were going around barking and biting. The students said that there were attacks from furries every day, but they were unsure how many furries there were actually at the school, shouting out numbers ranging from 5 to 100 students who identify as such. The school's furry population is accused of biting, scratching, spraying air freshener on, and barking and chasing other students. So according to the actual, adults running the school, this isn't even happening. A lot of this information has been put out there is completely incorrect or false. Students are not dressing up as cats and dogs, and the video shared online was not from their schools. So the video that they're alluding to on that one, there is a video that was kind of going around showing sort of a playground sort of environment where there was this student sort of like going on all fours and charging at somebody and barking at them. But it looked like they didn't approach them and get like really close to them, and it was not, I don't know if they were being furry or if they were just like acting a fool or acting a part. But according to like the school, it's like that video that was kind of going around as a result of that wasn't even of the school. So, and that was a whole other thing. So it says, this is a moral panic based off false stories, videos in schools that aren't theirs, amplified into action. But let's hear from a furry. Yeah, what about those furry students and what's their side of the story? Well, nah, that would be good reporting. So basically, enter Strudel. So Strudel is ID'd as a member of the furry community for a decade, so not a student. No affiliation with the school is implied. They only, have some points about the school is for learning. Don't be, a distraction to your peers, etc. Sure, it's like, yeah, but they buy into the rumors. And okay, so an adult who wasn't there but believes the rumors agrees with the parents who are protesting. So we all agree that this thing that didn't happen is bad. And that's why this is a lovely thought experiment. If furries were biting students and people, that would be bad. Yes, we all agree. Great reporting. But what's left in the dirt is so many people believe this biting incident is true, including our own random furry. And buried in the story is it's not true, by the way. It's like this leaves the door open for bad actors and Wokeness to step in and do what they do best, spark outrage. I need you to understand that these people frame their content in the worst possible light on purpose. They cherry pick quotes on purpose. They promote outright proven lies on purpose. Their goal is to not spread truth, but to get you mad. That's why their post ends with, they even interviewed a furry. Their framing implies that this furry was involved in child biting. And so, this is a great, and then the Punk Bunny goes over some great things here about the cat litter incident and that situation there. And then basically how misinformation spreads and how you can, kind of manage that, like blocking in people that give you misinformation. You're not engage or, and engage in the outrage and things like that. So basically, and then, they have their Ko-Fi there. I'll put a link to their thread here in the description. But this is a very good thread. And it gave me some hope because I will be honest, here's the thing. It's not like the information isn't out there. I'll critique, Punk Bunny's thing by saying, if you read the text in the stories, you can see what it is. It's some students trying to get out of school and using furries as a catalyst to do so. End Wokeness has a agenda, and that is an anti-furry agenda because furries, talk about expression in art, and End Wokeness wants a sad world where you believe everything that the government tells you, because that's literally what being woke is. It's being aware that the people in power don't always have your best interest at heart. That's the original heterofamilias. The original OG definition of wokeness is being wary of people in power not always having your best interest at heart, and being and can lie and deceive and commit sin in order to maintain their source of power, right? That's the entire original definition of the word woke. And the easiest way for a government to control you and to say that their power is viable is to make you angry and frustrated about other things and people and situations, even if they did not happen. Propaganda. Being aware of that is important. I'm just saying, call me woke if you will, but that's just what you have to be aware of in the real world. Okay? Now here's the thing. There's going to be people who read these articles and understand what's happening here. These kids found a exploit that they exploited very well. They were able to skip class and perform truancy or play hooky. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be woke by saying truant. I meant to say hooky. So these kids wanted to play hooky, and hey, these right-wingers are proud of them for playing hooky because they're protesting furries. But of course, the kids in the college, those others in the college who are protesting other things, those guys are just slackers because they're protesting the things that they like. If they're protesting the things they don't like, it's fine. If they're protesting the things they do like, it's not. That's just how the world is, man. Just how it is. Okay. But here's the thing. The interesting thing about the protests, when I did see the videos on it, is, they say things like "free the people, not the animals," and it's like, furries are people. I know the animal costume kind of makes you think we're not, but we are. We're people. Sorry, man. It's like, and why should some people be more free than others? I mean, that's sort of like Animal Farm-ish. Those kids probably haven't gotten this far to learn about what Animal Farm is yet, but who knows? Another interesting thing about the protest is that I did take a look at one of the videos from the other side of the aisle. There was a guy, he was wearing his Eagle shirt and his American flag. And one of the interesting critiques that he had, which is something I didn't read anywhere, is that he claimed that one of the teachers at the school made a statement about the students who were protesting the furries, and basically the teacher was like, well, the class was a lot less, like class was a whole lot easier to run without those kids who are protesting around, because those kids are the troublemakers in the class. And like, I'm just thinking to myself, like, as much as like furries can sometimes put their foots in their mouth, right? Like this whole Punk Bunny is claiming Strudel kind of put their foot in their mouth because they're kind of spreading the rumors or believing the rumors without doing more research. The interesting thing is that this other person who is an end wokeness kind of like on their side of the aisle, making this claim that this teacher is like, saying that these students are disruptive. It's like, you're not doing yourself any favors here. The teacher's probably right. I kind of believe the teacher. I don't think that the students who are protesting want to go to school. I think they're looking for any reason to get out of school. And I think that they used furries as a good means of getting out of school because, hey, looks like you approve of them being truant because of internet rumors. They should come up with false stories about 5 to 100 furries more often so they can get out of class more often. Those kids are clever, man. You're worried about the future. Man, I think the future's bright. Those slackers know exactly what they're doing. And by the way, kids from Utah, you're welcome. What can furries say except you're welcome? You're welcome that we were able to get you out of class by using us as your little scapegoat to get out of class. You're welcome. But here's the thing, though. There were probably many, many other students who still attended classes in spite of the rumor mongering that you did. And by the way, those kids are probably going to be more successful than you in the future. Just letting you know. Just letting you know. Anyway, here's the thing. At the end of the day, like, this story's kind of like died down over the past few weeks. I haven't gotten around to it until now, and like, as I said, work's been stressful, life's been stressful. Kind of, dealing with over exhaustion, because what happens when you get really good at something is that your employers exploit the heck out of you, and you don't have a lot of free time to go chasing around rumors and believing anything you read on the internet. It's something that happens when you don't have free time on your hands. You can wait for the people who actually are supposed, doing their jobs, such as, let's name the names here. Punk Bunny here, obviously. What else we have? Logan Stefanich. Catherine Donlevy, and Trevor Myers, right? The people who are like actually getting out there, asking questions, and getting information from the school, right? And working together to find out what's actually going on the ground instead of going crazy because of internet rumors. It allows people like me to kind of work off their work and their hard work and due diligence, and present that story in a way that furries would appreciate from a furry perspective. Without their work, articles like this don't exist. Though putting my own furry spin on it from a furry's perspective, right? That's the only thing I can add to it. So at the end of the day, but by the way, it's like when it comes to the wearing and doing this thing and wearing stuff in school, the kids are kind of lucky that I'm not the supervisor of the school, because you know what I would do? I would lean into it. If those kids who were protesting were the troublemakers, as was alleged by somebody from the end woke side, the non-woke side of the aisle, I guess I should call them. If they're the troublemakers, then what I could do is go, hey, as the superintendent, I go, yeah, you know what? These kids are protesting, for a stricter dress code, and I think that we should give them what they want. We should give these kids what they want, and that is a stricter dress code. White shirt and slacks. That's all you get, kids. White shirts and slacks. That's all you get. New dress code. Thank your colleagues. Thank your fellow students. Your fellow students brought this to my dire attention, and clearly this differences in clothing and stuff is causing such disruption in our schools that we need to ensure that there's no further disruption because of wardrobe. And so we're just going to make it a white down button shirt and slacks. And if you're in gym class, white shorts or black shorts. That's all you get. Black shorts and a t-shirt. That's all you get. No logos, no nothing. No Rick and Morty. I saw a Rick and Morty shirt in one of those videos. No Rick and Morty. No. No Pickle Rick. No Pickle Rick. No Peter Griffin. No. Why are you even wearing a shirt like that anymore? You're in a middle school. You shouldn't be watching Rick and Morty. I know. It's a hypocritical thing for me to say because when I was in high school, South Park season 1 and 2 were the big thing. Not to age myself. But still, like, if you can't handle some dork with animal ears on a headband and you have to throw food at them, then guess what? We should make sure that no incidents like this happen again where students are trying to tease other students for being different from each other. Let's make them all alike. White button-down shirts and slacks. You're welcome, kids. Thank your local protester. As I said, you're lucky that I'm not working in schools. You're lucky that I'm working in other institutions. You're welcome. You can pray for that one. You can thank the heavens for that one. Anyways, but if you are a school supervisor and you do want to take that advice, let that one be known in the future. If they do it again, That's a freebie. You can have that one. Anyways, thank you guys very much for watching. Kick that like, kick the subscribe button, kick a comment in the comment section. What do you think about the whole situation, and how do you go about navigating the turmoils of social media versus regular media, and trying to come into a conclusion on reading information and how you understand the news so that you keep yourself founded? Because I think that's an important skill in the modern era, and certainly something worth understanding. So thank you very much for watching, and we will see you guys next time. Have a good one. All right.